Hello, little children. It's Mr. Moorhead. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you've enjoyed the last two lessons that I have given you. We have now gone through the Great Depression and the rise of dictators. Both of those have a pretty pronounced effect on World War II. I want to review just a little bit before we get started. We covered the Great Depression. So we are looking at the stock market crash. And again, not everybody felt the Great Depression once the stock market crashed. Everyone did feel the Great Depression once there was a run on banks. We know that the Treaty of Versailles left Germany in really, really bad shape. And now they are hit with this wave of depression moving across the land. So that's where Germany stands. A lot of people are upset about the Treaty of Versailles. The Khan Academy video that I gave you, he went into great detail about the Germans thought that they could still win World War I, but the Weimar Republic, that was the new German government, just gave up and signed the Treaty of Versailles. I kind of differ with him. There are people that were like, yeah, we could still win. There were a lot of people that were like, no, we might not be able to win, but why did you sign such a horrible agreement? So I think both tracks of thought existed in post-World War I Germany. All right, so anyway, I got off on a little bit of a tangent. Let's go back to the review. Mussolini, he is the dictator of Italy. Remember, he is the guy with all of these like two extremes in his life. Remember, when he was younger, he struggled to speak, and he becomes one of the greatest speakers in history. Now, I'm not saying what he said was good, but giving a speech, like he really got into it. People enjoyed watching him talk. Remember, also, he fled the country because he didn't want to join the military, and then voluntarily joined the military to fight in World War I for Italy. So there's several differences. Again, he was a diehard socialist and then left that party and kind of got rid of them. So anyway, with that done, Mussolini is our dictator of Italy. And again, he did have some popularity. Remember the phrase, at least the trains ran on time. That's accredited to Mussolini. Stalin is our dictator of the Soviet Union. Remember, he is born in Georgia, which today is a different country than Russia that we normally associate with the Soviet Union. So he is born there. Remember, his last name was not Stalin. Stalin means man of steel, so he's kind of like Superman. That's the way he saw himself. He moved himself up through the ranks of the Communist Party, and part of his popularity is, remember that he robbed a bank, and then he was able to give that money to the Communist Party. He will eventually succeed Lenin. So he kind of takes Lenin's spot, even though most people thought it would be someone else. The thing that is interesting about Stalin, if we're going on numbers of death, Stalin actually kills more people than Hitler. Now, what I'm giving you is an opinion. A lot of teachers teach their opinion as fact, but I'm giving you an opinion. We don't really hear much about that. We hear a lot about Hitler. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Hitler and make Hitler seem okay. But Stalin, through his purges, remember this is where he kills tons and tons of people. He actually kills more people than Hitler, but you just don't hear about it much in history. And my opinion, just opinion, that means I could be wrong, is because we were allied with Stalin for some time. So I think that people kind of looked over that. Like, we didn't get that in our history books a bunch. So Stalin, he is the dictator of the Soviet Union. He takes over after Lenin. Hitler, this person will end up being the dictator of Germany. Now, one thing about Hitler that I hope you caught from the Khan Academy video is he is not actually born in Germany. He is born on Austria, the German border. Remember, we saw that he was an artist. And one thing that the video didn't go into is he was abused by his father, and he had this great love for his mother. When his father dies, he goes to art school, and he does not do well within art school. In fact, he has very little success at all, and doesn't really get in, doesn't really have the ability to keep going. He sells postcards. So with that said, his mother ends up dying. And this was like this tragic blow to him. And we end up seeing him fight in the German military. Remember, he was a trench runner. He was injured toward the end of the war. Some of the stories vary. It's tough to tell what is true. But he says in his book that he was hospitalized for blindness from a chemical attack. Some people dispute that, but we know he was hurt in some form or fashion. To what degree or to what it was, there's still some questions around it. So Hitler will work his way through the German Workers' Party. This will eventually become the Nationalist Socialist Party. This is where we get the word Nazi from. Now, the Khan Academy speaker mentioned Nationalist Socialist, and Nationalist with a Z. Socialist, the way that it's spelled in Germany, also has a Z. It would make more sense that Nazi comes from Nationalist and Socialist being combined. He kind of thinks it comes from the one word nationalist. I haven't seen a lot of people say that. So nonetheless, Nazi is a shortened form of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Remember, he runs for president. He is unsuccessful. Prior to that, he actually tried to overthrow the government and was put in jail and was actually treated relatively well. He was allowed to have visitors. It's not like a prison like we think of. So Hitler will become in charge. Remember, Germany has a president. They're going to name Hitler like this co-ruler, almost like a vice president, a chancellor. The president was very old. When he passes away, shortly after, we're going to see Hitler assume power. The Nazis assume power, and they kind of get rid of other parties, the same way that Mussolini did. Mussolini had the black shirts and got rid of people who objected to him. So that is our review. Now we're going to get into something new. This is where Hitler really starts to become aggressive. Hitler starts to violate the Treaty of Versailles. He moves soldiers to different spots he's not supposed to. He's building things that he's not supposed to. And this kind of reminds me of a story. I collect toys. I'll tell anybody. I like to refer to them as miniature statues, not toys, not action figures, miniature statues. And even before my kids were born, I remember I went into Toys R Us. I was going to look and see if they have some special items like collector's editions where there's only a few of them. And as I am there, this lady passes through. She's got a kid sitting in the shopping cart. And she lets the kid down, and she's wanting him to pick a toy. And he doesn't want to pick the toy she is pointing at. He goes for a toy that's on the bottom shelf, and it's a Godzilla doll that's about the same size as him. And he picks this up, and he won't let it go, and he's letting his mom know in the best language that he has, this is the toy he wants. And mom looks at the price tag, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't remember what it was, but it is a lot of money. I just remember that because I could see the tag at the time. So anyway, she doesn't want him to get it. She tells him to put it down. She offers him 2 of the other toy, and he says he says no. He wants that toy, and basically she has to rip it out of his hands, and she picks him up. She goes to put him in the shopping cart, and he's like blocking the shopping cart. He won't go into it. So finally, she gets him into the shopping cart, and she goes around, and I watched the whole thing. I was like, wow, that was a mess. The kid's screaming and yelling. And now that I'm a parent, I understand. But back then, I wasn't. I was like, oh, my gosh, that kid's nuts. Well, lo and behold, it was probably, I don't know, a minute later. Here comes that kid running around the corner. He's not in the shopping cart anymore. He has made an absolute full speed sprint back to that aisle, and he grabs that Godzilla doll that he wants, that big Godzilla doll. It's very expensive. And he takes off the other way, and here comes Mama. She's coming around the corner of the corner of the aisle. The shopping cart's up on 2 wheels now, and she is haul and tail trying to get to that little boy, and he runs around. He's running from her. I kind of got a chuckle out of that. Lo and behold, 2 minutes later, they come back down the aisle. He is in there screaming and crying. She's got this dirty look on her face. She throws the toy into the shelf and she's headed out. She leaves the aisle and she's kind of muttering to herself. The kid is screaming like he's being kidnapped. And I was like, wow, that took a turn for the even worse than what I thought. Well, I went through a couple other spots in the store, and I get up to the checkout, and I look over, and there's that little boy and his mom. And he's just as happy as can be. And he's not saying anything. He's not crying, nothing. And I look over, and there's that big Godzilla toy. It's sitting right beside him. She's going to get it. She kind of saw that, and I do this as a parent too. We all have. I'm trying not to judge. Please don't take it that way. She gave in to him. She appeased him. She thought, okay, if I just give him this toy, he stops. You're going to kind of see that with Hitler too. Hitler becomes really aggressive. He's breaking this Treaty of Versailles everywhere. Everyone turns to the League of Nations and say, hey, what are you going to do? The League of Nations can do nothing. They're a dog without teeth. So the world starts to say, Hitler's yelling, he's wanting a Godzilla toy. Let's just give him the Godzilla toy. Maybe he will calm down. What most people don't realize, at least parents initially, and people that were dealing with Hitler, once you gave into him, he only wants more. The next time that kid goes to the toy store, he's going to throw the same fit. It was successful for him. And it's going to become more difficult and more difficult to deal with him. And that's exactly what happened with Hitler. So let's take a look. He's breaking the Treaty of Versailles by moving people everywhere. Now he starts pulling off some moves that are in definite violation, and the world does nothing to stop him. One of the first things we have happen is the annexation of Austria. Annexation is where one country takes part of another. They just take it. Now, if you really want to see this in action in the United States, go to Fuquay or Cary in Wake County. There's a Harris Teeter not too far from Cleveland Middle School. It's on 1010 Road. And if you look, the boundary for Fuquay is now right near that Harris Teeter. That's new. Fuquay used to not reach that far. But Fuquay claimed more land and said this is now part of the city of Fuquay. When I lived in Cary, this was a big deal as well. The farther you got out from Cary, you'd see signs that say, stop Cary annexation. Cary was expanding its borders. It was making it larger. In the city where I grew up, there were several businesses located right outside of the city limits. They avoided some taxes that way. The city moved its limits, so it made the city bigger, just so it could tax those businesses. That's annexation. That's where one country takes another. Here, Hitler is going to say, hey, I was born in Austria. Those people speak German. A big chunk of them are ethnically German. That country should be part of Germany. And sure enough, the world kind of stands by and lets him annex Austria. So now Austria is part of Germany. The world didn't do anything, so we're going to see another move. This is going to be the annexation of Sudetenland. Sudetenland is a part of a country called Czechoslovakia. Now, that country doesn't exist anymore. We have Slovakia and the Czech Republic. You might have seen it on the map games. But at one time, they were combined called Czechoslovakia. After the Treaty of Versailles, there is a chunk given to this new country that was formed out of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and parts of the German Empire. So we see this new country, and it has a section of German speakers. They are ethnically German. Hitler says, okay, that was part of Germany, that was part of us. We need that land back. The country of Czechoslovakia objected to it. Great Britain, France, and Italy said, this is the Godzilla toy. Maybe if we give it to Hitler, he just stops. He just stops. He's not going to run around the store anymore. He's happy he's going to stop. So he got Austria before. Now he has part of Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia objected. They weren't even at the meeting. And sure enough, Hitler now has this part of the land. Now there's a third request he is going to make. It's the Polish corridor. Now this is a World War I, World War II-ish map of Germany. Now, if you see it says Prussia here, this part right here where I've got the mouse, that was part of Germany as well. They lost it to a new country after World War I called Poland. It had existed in several points in history, but it wasn't around at World War I. Nonetheless, this area was given to Poland so that they could get to the Baltic Sea, because otherwise they're landlocked. So Germany was split here. You see this? That's Germany. This was Germany. Now this will be called a free city. It's its own kind of independent city. That used to be part of Germany. The decision was made on this because most of these people here consider themselves Polish. They needed a route to the sea, so this land was taken from Germany. Hitler says, I want that land back. Germany should be connected. And finally, the world says no. I'm going to give you another story. This is not a happy story. It's kind of a sad story. When I was in school, this is late high school, there was a cheerleader. I guess I might have had a little bit of a crush on her, nice girl, but our parents were friends. Our parents actually worked together. My mom worked with her mom. And there was one point that we were out kind of all together, and the girl made a request to the mom. She wanted to go somewhere with somebody and do something with like one of her friends or a movie. I don't remember exactly what it was. And the mom told her no. I remember that girl snapping at the mom. I remember it pretty distinctly because it was embarrassing. Like if I talked to my mom like that girl had talked to her mom, my mom would have smacked me with something. So everybody there was shocked how that girl spoke to her mom. Like it was bad. And the mom said, okay, just go. And she kind of laughed it off. When we became seniors in high school, that girl didn't come to school for several days. And my mom mentioned that her mother had not come to work for several days. Just kind of wondering what's going on. And then we started hearing some rumors, and they actually turned out to be true. She requested something of her mom. The mom said no. And the mom meant no. She's not changing her mind. And that girl attacked her mom. And she hurt her mom significantly badly, like visibly. Like the mom had a black eye, she had cuts. She attacked her with something. The difference from the first time we'd seen that was several years before that. The girl was small. She was little. Like the mom had kind of given in, and the girl took that as kind of like power. You see it. But later on, when the mom finally had to say no, that girl had grown to a point where she was larger, taller, stronger than her mother. So when her mother went to stop her and say, no, you can't, that girl's too powerful to stop. And she had been used to having her way. So when she fought back, there's not much mom could do. She was just overpowered by the girl. It's a very, very sad situation. I'm not ultimately sure what happened, but that girl kind of didn't come back to school. So very, very sad situation. The reason why I mentioned that story is because Hitler now wants this Polish corridor, and the world tells him no. The world is just like the mom and the girl. The world is telling him no, but Hitler is too strong now. He has built up his military and nobody has stopped him. He's built up and built up and built up. And when the world finally says, no, you can't have this, Hitler says, come and stop me. And there's nobody that can. So Hitler invades this area. This will start World War I. So please remember, if not for this class, for literally every World War II, I think I said World War I apologize. This starts World War II. Almost every World War II bit of trivia will say, how did the war start? It's with the invasion of the Polish corridor. And if you don't understand the word corridor, at school, when you walk to electives, you're walking through a corridor. Corridor is a hallway. So the Germans kind of saw this as a hallway that connects the two pieces of Germany. Hitler wanted that. The world said no. Now he's way too powerful. He is going to take it whether you say no or not. All right, guys. To review, we see Hitler gets very aggressive. There's the annexation of Austria. He takes that. There's the annexation of Sudetenland. This is taken from another country, Czechoslovakia. The British, French, and Italians agree to give Hitler this. And this is an area where they might have been able to stop him and say, no, you're not getting it. In fact, your army's not that powerful. We're not giving it to you, and now we're going to enforce some laws and some restrictions on you. But they thought, hey, maybe we give in. Maybe we give him the Godzilla toy. Everything's going to be okay. The Polish corridor is basically the third request that he makes, and this is where the world says, you have taken too much. But now, very much like the girl in the story, Germany is just too strong to be stopped. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Make sure, once you've listened to the video, you click turned in.